find studying Japan and Japanese politics endlessly interesting. And I hope to spark your curiosity.
Sorry, Professor Pekkanen?
Yes.
Sorry, can I interrupt you for a sec?
You already have.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm very sorry.
Not at all.
My name is Stefano. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And I'm an ISS student, and I just saw you here, and I thought maybe if you had 2 minutes for me, I wanted to ask you something about the course. I know that you teach Japanese politics. Is that correct?
That's right.
Maybe this is what you're shooting now. Maybe.
That's exactly. I'm actually teaching Japanese politics as we speak.
I'm so sorry, but do you have? So I wanted to ask you what the course is about.
I designed this class as a kind of one course that would teach people about Japan and Japanese politics in a way that they could understand the background, the history, and also what's going on in contemporary Japan. So that after this class, students could read newspapers and understand the fuller context and be able to predict what's happening in Japanese politics, both domestic and international relations. The kind of class I wanted to take when I was an undergraduate.
And so you say politics, what do you mean, like politics, or what do you mean?
Well, in this course, I focus a lot on politics broadly construed. And it starts off with a revolution with the Meiji Restoration of the 19th century. So some people might consider that to be history, but I think of it as political history, and that also is the kind of thing that we can study in a class on Japanese politics. In the contemporary period, I focus a lot on party politics and elections as the core of politics.
So besides politics, what are like the key terms and other key concepts that your class focuses on?
Well, of course, we'll think about politics and comparative politics, but also electoral systems, political parties, revolution, interest groups, and bureaucracy.
Wow. So do you mind if you go through some of them? I'm a little bit confused. So bureaucracy, what do you mean by bureaucracy?
Well, when we think about bureaucracy, Americans might think of this as federal employees. So the Department of State, the Department of Treasury, the administrative apparatus that both administers government, but also could be making policy. And in Japan, the bureaucracy is even more important than the United States. They have a different role. And we'll trace that out historically and also in the contemporary period.
Okay, so that's bureaucracy, and I think I got it. Then electoral system was the other one that kind of left me a little bit.
Yeah, electoral system. And this is one of the things that I'll try to explain in the class. The electoral system is the system that translates votes into control of the legislature or control of a presidency in some countries. And in Japan, the electoral system changed in the 1990s in ways that ripple through Japanese politics, importantly even today. So I'll explain the mechanics, how the process works. But more than that, I'll explain why it's so important to understand Japanese politics or politics more generally.
And this is the last one, I promise. So you say revolution, and I just wanted to make sure I understood. So what kind of revolution we're talking about?
Yeah, that's kind of a big word to be tossing out, revolution. So what is that? It sounds exciting, right? Well, you want to know more? Well, actually, that's one of the things we'll be investigating. What is a revolution? How do we define a revolution? How do we know a revolution when we see it? There are some very important political events in 19th century Japan that changed Japan forever. Did that constitute a revolution? You've never heard of a Japanese revolution, right? So we'll look at that.
So, but why did you decide to teach this course?
I decided to teach this class on Japanese politics because I think it's really interesting. And I wanted more people to be able to share their understanding and interest in Japanese politics that I have. And teaching this class online was a great way to reach a huge number of people.
And how did you develop this interest? I'm just curious.
Well, for me, the Japanese politics was something that developed over time. I was interested in Japan intellectually to find out what made Japan work, because I'll give you an example. When I was a junior in college, I went and spent a year at a Japanese university.
Oh, wow.
And on the surface, Japanese universities and American universities where I've been trained were really similar. I mean, they have credits, you have majors, you have students, you have departments, you have deans, you have buildings, you have classes, all the things that we have at American universities. But when I went to the Japanese university, which on the surface looked so similar, the reality was totally different.
Wow.
And I wanted to know why. And so unpacking that and getting to discover that was something that's, I kind of think about it and understanding Japanese politics in the same way. It's a great intellectual puzzle, and I enjoy explaining what I've learned to others.
That actually makes sense also because one thing that I've been asking to other professors is what is social science? And when I read the title of your course, I was a little bit puzzled. I was like, so why Japanese politics, social science? But kind of makes a little bit more sense now. And but how do you, just like to make sure, how do you define social sciences, and what do you think this course like fits in?
Yeah. So I think that there's two big conceptions of social science, and the first is that it's the study of something that's not arts or humanities and not physical science. And so it's this space that we're studying. And in that case, the ISS fits perfectly. It's this large area, and many different disciplines have bites at it, kind of partial understandings of the reality. Another understanding of social science is that it's a particular methodology that's applied to this discipline, and I think both of them work. And one of the things that I try to keep in mind, Stefano, is that the reality is so complex. We can't really understand it completely. We have lots of different lenses and different angles to understand it, and that's one of the things that ISS does. It gives us lots of different angles on reality without being kind of excessively imprisoned by disciplinary boundaries.
It sounds like mirroring your experience, the experience that you described in Japan. So that's actually actually pretty cool. And how was like the development of the course? Do you think it's going to work online? What are your feelings about that?
We'll see. There's a lot of things that we can do online with the class, and it's my first time teaching it, so I think it's going to work. If I didn't think it was going to work, I wouldn't do it.
That was very amazing and very helpful. So it was a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks. Now let me finish my shoot.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry. Thank you.